Hello everyone, my name is Brian and I'm from IBM. Today we're going to look at how to install IBM Data Science Experience Local in a 4-node cluster. Before we start, let's take a quick look at the installation guide. As you can see, you have a few options. You can install as a 8-node cluster with high availability. You can also install a 5-node cluster whereby the control, storage, and compute node are all shared. For today's installation, we're going to look at a 4-node cluster whereby you have 3 nodes shared by the control, storage, compute, and you have 1 node for deployment, which means our deployment node does not have high availability. And we're going to look at how we're going to do it. We start the installation by getting all the server ready, and in this case I already have a few servers provisioned on IBM Softlayer. These are the 4 nodes that are going to be used for installation of DSX, and in order for me to access it, I have also provisioned a load balancer node. This will serve as my access point for the DSX. Now if you don't have a load balancer or you don't want to use a load balancer, you just need to have a reserved IP address to serve as a proxy IP. Now let me telnet into my first node, or rather I'm going to use SSH. Yes, key my password. And one more time. Okay, so now I'm in my first node already. I've already copied the installer. It's under /opt/3 nodes. This is the DSX Local Installer. Before that, if you refer back to the install guide, there are a few prerequisites that needs to be done, such as you need to make sure you have dedicated partition for the software installation, which in this case will be OPT, and the dedicated storage partition, which in this case will be mounted on /storage. So if you take a look at our current partition, I have 500 gig of disk mounted on OPT, and I have a 2 terabyte of disk mounted on storage. And this is the partition I'm going to use for installation. And this is been prepared on every single node, not just node 1, but every single node. It is important that you prepare all this on every node before you kick off the installation. Now, once we are ready to do the installation, we can do it in a couple of ways. The most common option will be either using the browser or use the command line. My personal favorite option is to use command line because I can specify all the information before I kick off the installation, and then I can just leave it to run through for the next couple of hours, and I can just come back and see the result. But for the purpose of this demo, I'm going to show you how to use the browser as well. So I'm going to kick off the installer. But before that, we need to be as a root user or a super user. So I'm going to run the sudo command. Okay, and I'm going to kick off the installer. There is one parameter we need to specify. This is to tell the installer that we're going to use 3 nodes instead of more nodes. Before you kick it off, you can actually have a question mark to see what are the options. And the other parameter we're going to use is to leverage CentOS repo. Otherwise, this is going to use your Red Hat subscription repository if you have. For that, let's specify this parameter. There we go. So the installer has started and it's preparing the files. This will take a while. I'm going to do a fast forward and I'll be back in a few minutes. Okay, I'm back. The installation preparation has been done and the terminal has shown us one URL for us to continue with the installation. So we just have to copy the URL and I'm going to paste into my browser, and it says the connection is not private. I'll just proceed with it. Let's get set up, agree, and continue. Alright, so this is where we have to key in the information that's required for installation. So the first thing we need to provide is a cluster overlay network. Let's use the default. Just make sure this cluster overlay network is currently not used in your corporate network. It needs to be a subnet that is not in use. Next, we need to provide the static proxy IP address. This needs to be one IP address that's currently not being used by any node at all. So just key in one IP address that you are aware of that is available to your corporate network and not going to be used by anybody else. The next, you're going to key in the information for the rest of the nodes. So over here, as you can see, by default, we have the option of keying 4 nodes. We can add additional nodes if you have additional nodes that is available. The master node will be node 1. You just have to copy and paste the IP address into these nodes. Node 2 and node 3. And lastly, node 4 for my deployment. Username. As you notice, there's apply to all, so you don't have to key in for every single node. Path to install, we have already set up the OPT as the installation partition and the storage as the storage partition. Wait for the validation to complete and we are done. So from here, when you click next, this is going to go through a list of testing such as the disk speed, such as whether they are been configured against the time server. So it's going to run through the prerequisite which are listed in the install guide. And then you just have to wait for a couple of hours before the installation is going to finish. Now, the next thing I'm going to do, instead of clicking next, I'm going to show you how to use a configuration file to run the installation. And before that, I will need to clean up my current installation. So let me take a pause here. Okay, now I'm back to the terminal. This time around, I'm going to create a file. The file is called wdp.conf. Now, how do you create this file? If you don't know the parameters in this file, there is one command that allows you to generate this file. Run the installer. Run this command get config for user. This is going to generate a wdp.conf for you. But I don't need this because I have already prepared the content for this file. So what I can do is I can just modify this file, delete away everything, and paste in what I have prepared. Now the content in this file is the same information as what you would key in to the web-based installer. With this file available, I can run the installer one more time. If the installer says it detects a configuration file, do you want to use the parameter in this file for installation? Yes, that's what we wanted to do. And now please type for the agreement. Since we no longer have the web-based browser, so we have to accept the agreement over here and key in the node password. Alright, this time around it's going to take about a few hours depending on your disk speed. Could be anything from 2 hours to 5 hours. So we'll come back I'm going to take a pause here and I'll come back in a few hours and I will show you the final installation. Alright, I'm back, and after 4 hours of waiting, the installation is finally done. As you can see from the terminal, it shows the installation completed successfully, and it also provides one URL which we can use to access the DSX local portal. So what we are going to do now is to copy this URL and paste into our browser. And again, it's going to tell us the certificate is not trusted. We're just going to proceed with it. And there you go. We see the login page. Up to this point of time, we have not set the password yet. So it's going to be the default password, which is password. One more time. Okay, and we are in the DSX administration console now. Now from this point onwards, you can start to do your data science project development, or you can manage the users. You can also license the server. And I will put up more videos to go through the details. Thank you for watching. That's all.